Hey everybody, this is going to be just a simple critique of the new trailer for The Mandalorian. Now, of course, I don't work at ILM, so it's really more of a praise of their really awesome work, especially in this trailer. One of my students is actually a senior compositor on this show. It's a Lucasfilm TV show for Star Wars. So let's go ahead and play through and just take a look at, I'm going to have the sound down. I'm going to do some drawing on the screen just so we can kind of take a look at some of the elements. And it actually kind of inspired me as I watched it. I thought, you know what, I want to do a Blade Runner-esque tutorial, part of what is going to be my tutorial on Pipeline, and start to build out something with the amount of detail that you see in this awesome trailer. So first off, one thing you'll notice as you start to watch this, especially when you guys are dealing with DSLRs and you're dealing with, micro four thirds cameras, is it's very hard to get shallow depth of field in that sort of cinematic perspective. This is obviously looks like 2:3:5 aspect ratio anamorphic. I could be wrong about that. It could be crop spherical. I have no idea. But again, you can see how quickly things go out of focus here and then back here. Now, you can achieve this with a micro four thirds lens, but you're going to be at probably a 1.4 or something crazy to get it to happen. The smaller your sensor size, the harder it will be for you to get this nice shallow, creamy, dreamy, shallow depth of field, as they call it, where it just looks really, really, really kind of dramatic, so to speak. So what we'll do is we'll keep going on here. Again, no special effects in here yet, or at least what I can't tell. Maybe some set extension, for no clue. Again, I didn't work on this at all. Just kind of going through it. And again, just this really cool shot. And again, the blending that you see right here with the background, sort of like it's not like an edge extend, but I mean the motion blur isn't just motion blurred black put on the background here. It actually blends really nicely. And you get, what you're really going to see in this trailer is these really cool kicks and highlights. I always say whenever you're looking at a plane that goes over your head, once in a while you'll see a couple of little glints hit your eye very predominantly. And again, you can see all those wonderful, again, specularity is the unsung hero of photorealism. Also, not having a crap load of saturation is a big key. And I love the details on the modeling work they did here. I mean, just a little bit of erosion. It all makes sense accordingly. I was actually thinking about having a couple friends of mine on the show that are painters, as well as like maybe engineers and so forth, to actually go over why it is that certain panels are discolored. In Substance Painter and Substance Designer, you have the option to have these sort of discolored panes, so each piece feels like it's actually been built somewhere else and then attached on, as opposed to one big, coat of paint. So every piece that you imagine, even on an aircraft, is built somewhere separately, and it might have a different color or hue. In this case of like blue or white, I don't know what this is. But again, you can see it just looks awesome. And of course, we have motion blur on here, so let's go ahead and keep going here. And again, you can see, I don't know if we caught a reflection on the ground there. Let's see if we can kind of spot it. And no, there's not enough angle there to see a reflection in the water just yet. But again, you can see just absolutely awesome shot. I love this shot. This shot is, to me, so awesome. So you folks at ILM, you did an incredible job. Just the stuff like this. The really cool paneling here, and also you have like sort of like indirect reflective lighting, so you have the reflections of light hitting this and then reflecting up and hitting below the actual ship here, so it's kind of like this indirect lighting, so to speak. And then you got all these nice kick highlights here that really shape the object, and then you have just all types of little doohickeys. Again, specularity is definitely the unsung hero of photorealism. What I like is you'll notice there's two little plumes right here, like 1 and 2, which probably could be just carded sprays that could be just put in there. And you can see little patches of what is commonly probably just stock footage of like little, mists and so forth to kind of add atmosphere. You'll see one over here. You'll see a sort of a cloud formation moving over here. You'll see a little bit of a gas press here. And you'll just see all of this kind of go through the shot. So let me just play it a couple times so you guys can see it. And I'll play it through really quick so you can see it. So you can see, if we kind of take a look at this shot, you got the nice two little plumes right here. You You got that little plume over here. You have a little guy, some guy doing something right here, right? You have a little R2 unit walking across, 2 characters right there. And you got some plumes of smoke over here. All this could be just carded in, obviously. And then you just have this sort of mist just sitting here under the ship as if it just landed or something. So really, really awesome throughout the shot. And again, some of this stuff is obviously probably a 3D render like this and this. And then the 2D render could be these pieces over here. These technically could be 2D cards. So you could have a 2D card of this. And you just look at the parallax difference. You could see how there's just a slight shifting of parallax between possibly the cards of these buildings back here. And I think this shot specifically has inspired me to kind of think about the possibility of doing a tutorial. I think I'd rather want to do maybe something a little bit more Blade Runner-esque, which will do like extensions and foreground 3D renders and so forth, but adding a lot of little details like this. And there's a lot of things you can do if you can't afford some of these packages that actually render, have smoke plumes, or you don't have enough RAM to press Houdini to render out a couple of this stuff, or maybe you don't know Houdini enough to, like, render out this, or maybe Bifrost or something. But, you can buy this stock, or you can get a party machine, and get a black wall or black cardboard, and maybe 2 or 3 pieces of black cardboard from your craft store. Get a party machine that sprays, spray. Set up a camera. You could even shoot this at 60 frames per second if you have, like, for instance, what I have, Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K. And you can just shoot it, and you can get like a nice little thing you can composite in via luminance-based compositing. So again, really cool, lots of nice little details. Again, not a lot of saturation here, which is what I always tell you guys how much is awesome. You also have some possible simulations of these little, looks like canopies or whatever, right back here and here. So lots of stuff going on. And I'm just kind of thinking in the form of, we are very limited in regards to composite shots to look really cool and have really nice shots like this. And the reason being there's not a lot of training material out there to do so. But if you really think about this shot, you could technically, with Substance Painter and Designer, which I plan to get into, build out something sort of like this. And then just, you're not like copying off something. You're just trying to you're just inspired by just the layout. It's not really stealing or nothing. It's just a matter of just kind of getting a cool feel. So let's go ahead and take a look at everything. Again, I talked about this before. If you were out there with a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K like I am, it's going to be very hard for you to get this sort of shallow depth of field here, because you'll have to really get very, very fast lenses, and even with fast lenses, it'll be hard to pull off this sort of quick fall off of shallow depth of field. Now, the Blackmagic team just came out with the 6K cam, which uses a 35 millimeter sensor size, or EF sensor size, which is a bigger sensor, hence more susceptible to shallower depth of field, because the sensor, again, the bigger the sensor size, like for instance a 5D Mark II will get you some serious shallow depth of field. The more shallow depth of field, the more cinematic things will look. It'll be harder to focus things sometimes, but 35 seems to be the favorite, or I think I forgot what it is, and I think it's like CMOS or something. I could be wrong on that. Anyway, so let's go ahead and pop off of this really quick, and let's keep going. Just kind of see if there's any. Kind of also ask yourself, is there any compositing in even some shot like this? And I wouldn't. It's hard to tell at this moment. I would doubt it. It looks pretty simple. Basic shots. And then we can cut to this. Now, this is what I love about this shot, is check out this plane as it goes by. You'll see a little glint of a highlight hit it right there. So you can see that it has that awesome little, let's see if I can stop it. So you can see it's like a little bit of a glint, glare, whatever you call that, flare. And you can see it's just like right there. And you also have, again, Speculator's the unsung hero of photorealism. You have all of these really, really, something about the scale of this feels a little weird. It feels a little bit small. First off, there's nothing in the real world that really looks like this, at least what I've seen. So I think it's the scale of these cracks that will define the scale of the scene, and this just feels very small. I mean, for me, this could be some crusty piece of bread or something. Again, not to insult anybody, there is scale being established in these areas here, but the fact that it's so flat really kind of feels weird to me. I don't know. So Don't tear me apart, ILM folk. I'm just saying. But again, beautiful shot. And some really cool shots here. Again, for all we know, probably, I bet you this guy's probably on a green screen here, and then this is just some ramp. I don't think they actually bought this ramp. Maybe they did. But something about this ramp does tell me that it just feels a little bit CG. Just the general feeling like right here feels a little CG. And there's always something about CG, when I look at it, it has kind of a diffused specularity to it. It has specularity, but it always seems slightly diffused or blurred. And you can see, you know, there is specularity on here, but it seems a tight, just a little bit subdued, even like right here. But again, nothing against ILM, so I know somebody will tear me apart downstairs. Again, I'm not saying it's just really cool CG. And for a television series, man, I mean, it's going to be, you know, like, I'm going to wait for the reviews, though. I don't know, you know, it's a big commitment. I mean, crying out loud, we already got Netflix, I got YouTube Red. I mean, how many of these places do I have to subscribe to, you know? Again, I don't know to what to be is composited at this place, in this perspective. But again, I always also judge things based on, you know, how photographic they are. One of the clues that this probably is anamorphic and not cropped is the fact that the bokeh is oval. So when you see oval bokeh, you're probably talking about a 2 squeeze, as we were talking about in our previous examples. It's a beautiful cinematic look to it, and it also has sometimes the actual anamorphic lens flares or the bokeh usually have a weird flatness to them sometimes, almost like a cylindrical feel to them, like this little flat line down here. Again, that's just some anomaly that I've always seen. I don't know. So again, I like the idea of this idea of a bounty hunter. I just feel a little worried when the actor doesn't actually talk. I mean, maybe they do through the screen, but we never have any expression to see, so it's hard to relate to a character that is kind of expressionless on that. Again, here's a great example of just some nice little details that they put in. The ground itself getting, you know, crunched up as it's sort of collapsing into the river here. So again, I'll just play this through and you can take a look at it. You can see it's like that nice little crunchiness going on there. And again, here we have what, as you've heard in many of the guests speaking, all of the flares. My guess is this is probably Video Copilot. And then we talked about the other guests, how they speak in which this is probably, you know, God rays mixed with multiplication of noise pattern or noise footage. Again, it's always good to kind of break. I love watching these trailers because you do learn from them, and I usually teach my class this mostly from the optical perspective. So you can see if I kind of come like right here, like see this type of stuff is studied by compositors. They look at optical artifacts, and this to me does not spell Video Copilot's lens flares plugin. It feels like some sort of optical, you know, imprint put in, shot on black screen. But I could be wrong about that. I mean, I don't know. And I could just see some footage here. And another thing, again, this robot obviously I think is CG if I'm not mistaken. It's a really cool that they chose, I forgot the name of the model back in the day, Empire Strikes Back, but it was always my favorite as a kid. But one of the things you always got to look at when the sun just blows out the camera here, or there's dust on the lens, as you can see, it's just so diffused. But even this CG, it's just unbelievably diffused. And this is something that most likely won't be introduced in the render, but only in the composite. And when you do that, you're seriously talking about lifting whites and adding a crap load of definitely light wrap coming in on the character, as you can see here. So trailers are a lot of fun because also they're not done yet, even though I think this has got like another month or two before it comes out. My only beef with this shot maybe is the oversaturation of the red, but then this is Star Wars. We got a nice glint and glow going on right here. You can see it's kind of like spraying out like that a little bit, and it looks really cool. I think it's cool. The only thing that always throws me off, and people are always like, you know, like I listen to Alan McKay interviews, and it's always like, you know, I have a problem with this, but it's awesome, man. It's incredible. It's all incredible. Yeah, we don't want to offend anybody. Obviously, they're way more talented than us who made this. But I'm just saying, like, stuff like this is always something that may irk me, and that's just the fact that there's just not enough, as I talked about, like panels that are maybe darker, as we saw in the earlier examples, and having these, and it doesn't, that's usually for older models that had repaint jobs and all that. But I mean, just the fact that some of these may have just a little bit of slight discoloration, being they were manufactured on opposite ends of the universe in this case, and then brought together and manufactured this ship, really kind of helps sell it a little bit. Even maybe burn marks and stuff like that might actually play a part in this. So I don't know, just help it. And I would desaturate that. Saturation, again, even on these explosions, is just a little bit, to me, a little bit too much. I've never liked this. I love this robot, by the way. You can see some really cool effects here. Here's this robot just like taking his gun and swinging around twice. I think that's kind of cool. His head stays the same. And again, you can see this sort of outer glow and then inner glow. So and then we have the famous documentarian do his little line. Here's this get people riled up. Guy gets sliced in half. I guess we don't see it. And this is kind of cool. They got the guys in carbonite that he's collecting for his bounty, being a bounty hunter. So there's good old Max, and again, really nice trailer. I really like it. I really like it. Something about this right here kind of bothers me. I don't know why. It just feels it feels very, I don't know. It just doesn't, it feels slight. I like him being in the middle. I like this. It kind of has a cool look. It just feels kind of digital, or, you know what I mean? Like, I like how Stranger Things, they sort of break up the footage to make it look like 80s. They filmed their intros optically and all that, and I think that really helps. It just seems like if there's any way to introduce that sort of optical, just grit into these title sequences, they always seem a little bit too clean. So again, Disney Plus, there you go, folks. Spend your money. Check it out. They've been working hard at ILM for it, so give it a try.